Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michelle video. This week's topic, Scotland's valuation rolls. We'll talk about what these records are and what we can learn from them. We'll also look at a number of websites offering free access to this information. Let's get started. What I thought I would do today as a continuation from what we discussed last week on the tithe records and the apportionments, I wanted to cover what Scotland does. So they have something called the valuation rules. And what I'm showing you here is the website for the National Records of Scotland. This is their research guide on valuation rules. So they give similar information to the tithe apportionments. You'll find information on the owner, the occupier. It will say the type of building or dwelling, and then the tax that was charged. This information guide is really helpful. They make the point that the bulk of the useful rolls are in this time frame of 1855 to 1989. And there are places where you can see certain ones online, and I'll show you those. There are indexes online to these records through the Scotland's People website. So you can look at the index information for free, and you would have to pay to view the actual details. Before 1855, there are some records, but it's spotty. So this 1855 to 1989 timeframe is where you're going to find a lot more of the information available. Now, if we take a look, they also have, if you click on some of these links at the bottom of the screen, the valuation rolls 1855 to 1989, or the valuation rolls before 1855, you come to a detail page. I clicked on the one that said valuation roll indexes. So now you're seeing all of the related links in this table of contents at the side. And again, they're telling you where these indexes are, and the Scotland's People website is one of the places. And in fact, that's what I'm going to show you right now. So if we look at the Scotland's People website, you can create a free account and log in, use their facilities. You will have to pay to see details of some of the records, but what I found is their indexes are incredibly informative. They basically transcribe a lot of the key details so that it is much more than just a name and a date. You can see quite a bit of information. So if you click, for instance, on this help and guidance menu, they've got this guidance about records and research. So if I click on See Guides, you can type in a keyword, or you can go down here, say View all of our record guides, and it lists them all. And you notice they've got a guide on valuation rolls. So there's all kinds of background information on the valuation rolls, which are basically tax records. As I said, they were local tax records listing the properties and the people in each Scottish county and burgh between those dates. So there's a lot of useful information that you can find. The other thing I wanted to show you, so if we go back to the home page, instead of looking at the guides, you might want to actually search the records. So if we go in to an advanced people search. You notice these are all the different areas of records that you can do a name search. We're going to look at valuation roles. So we're going to go in, and I'm going to have to log into my account so that I can do this. So if I now go in, it's brought me into this search screen. You can specify the year that you want to search. I'm going to search for some rentals, and I'll just click search. And it's giving me all this information. So I'm signed in just with my free account. So even without paying any money to look at the details, I can still see the street, the parish. There's a reference number here, and it's giving the name, and it's giving their status. So there's a lot of information I'm getting even just from the index. Okay. Now, I wanted to show you, just as I did last week, I wanted to give you some idea of what the paid subscription websites have for valuation roles or tax records. So when I searched in Ancestry on valuation roles in the card catalog, they do have some for Perthshire. And if I take a look, I've got that tab open. It gives you some information about the records, and you can specify your search to one of these items, or you could just do a name search and cover all three of them. So as I said, Ancestry has that one item for valuation roles. Find My Past, I did a similar thing. I did a search on their catalog on the term valuation roles. They do have some Ayrshire, Kilmarnock valuation role. They also have Dundee and Forfarshire valuation roles. So there are a few there. When I went to Family Search, I typed valuation roles Scotland. So there are a number of entries. What I found interesting is these valuation roles are often buried in with the poor law, the parish records for the description of the entries. So for instance, this entry showed up, Scotland, Perth, Kirkmichael and Strathardale parish registers. When I clicked on the details though and looked down, you will see that in amongst all of the entries, I believe this is the one, maybe, yes, it says financial notes, including valuation roles. So they're not necessarily going to be where you expect them. I wouldn't necessarily have thought to look in with parish register records or poor law records. So the item I'm going to show you is this poor law records for, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that place, but for Lanarkshire. So if we go in, here's valuation roles, and we've also got valuation roles in this entry. So if I click on the camera icon and bring it up, and I have already looked at this image, so I know what I want is image 264. And you can see, if I enlarge the screen, this is showing similar information. We've got a description. of the place. We've got the address, basically. We've got the proprietor's name, the tenant's name, we've got who the occupier is, and we've got their yearly rent or value. So very similar information to what we saw in the tithe apportionment records. So it can be very helpful in placing your ancestor in a particular location and learning more about what their circumstances were based on the amount of yearly rent they were paying and the description of what they owned or what they occupied. So if we continue, the other item I wanted to show you, if we do a search of the digitized books, so I went search books, came to this screen. If I type in valuation roll and press enter, it brings up a number of items. This very first one, valuation roll of the county of Forfarshire in Scotland. If I click on that, and the backwards and forwards navigation buttons are over on the far right and left of the image. I'm going to jump ahead to page 300 or so. This is the actual valuation roll. And as you can see, there's the number, there's the description, the proprietor, the tenant, the occupier. So again, all that information similar to what we saw in last week's records. So the next website I wanted to show you is called The Glasgow Story, and it's a collection of really interesting resources, images, various documents about Glasgow. And as part of this Glasgow Story project, they have digitized the 1913 to 1914 valuation rolls. Now, the link that they mentioned down here does not seem to be correct. However, the link over on the right does take you to the valuation roll information. So if I click this link, I come to this general information page with links to search the valuation rolls, an introduction, and the ward maps, which would be close to your tithe maps, and that it will give you that enlarged view of the particular area covered by the valuation roll details. So I've got those tabs set up. If I had clicked on the introduction to the valuation rolls, you'd come to this page, which gives you an overview. It tells you about the contents of the roll, some basic information. If I had clicked on the ward map entry, it brings me to a list of all the available maps, and you can click one of these items to see a small version of the map. If I click this view larger image, I see an enlarged version so that you can very easily read the street names and get some idea of where your ancestor might have lived. And if I go back to this small map, there's this show valuation rolls for this ward, because this map is Ward 1. And if I click on that, if I click on the show valuation rolls for this ward, I come to this page with images. So these are all the pages for that valuation rolls. So you can click on one of the images, and I will just enlarge it using my keyboard's plus sign, and you will see the details. So that's a handy feature, that project, in that they do have the valuation roles for that particular year set up. Now, the next website I want to show you is this one called Scotland's Places. It also has some land tax rolls. They do have some early rolls. So you notice it says from 1645 to 1831. And they've got them all broken down by county so that you can go in and look at the particular area that you're interested in. So for instance, if I clicked on land tax rolls for Aberdeenshire, it brings me to this page. Now, the nice thing is there is a transcription, and that can be really handy, because if I click on one of the pages, this particular item is from 1674. So if I click on the details, you will find it's not necessarily really easy to read. And I can make it a little bit bigger, but you may find partly the style of the handwriting, it may not always be easy to make out what they have written here. So there is this reference number. If we go back, and let me just put my screen back to 100%. If I click on transcription, that reference number that we saw when we looked at the page, here's the reference for the transcription. So this is showing all the items on that particular page, this E106/2/1/2. Now we've got the next section, E1062/13. So at least you can see a transcription of the information as well as the original image. So I found that was rather handy. Now, the next site I want to show you is called Scottish Indexes. Again, they've got some information on valuation rolls. One of the things they have done, and I'll just scroll down to the bottom here, they have made one of the rolls available for Dumfriesshire for 1896 to 97. They've put it up on Flickr. And if we go to their Flickr account, we see this valuation roll, and it's 44 albums. Each of these albums has multiple photos. So if I click on, for instance, this one here, it's the valuation roll, 20 photos. So you can see each of the pages. So that's kind of nice. That particular county is up here, available for free. And the very last website I'm just going to bring to your attention, it's called Glasgow Life. It's the link to the Mitchell Library and the family history resources they have. And if you scroll down, they've got all kinds of useful links. So they have a lot of research guides on all kinds of topics, including valuation rolls. So again, those of you that are doing research in Scotland, hopefully you're aware of these websites already, but if not, there are some really useful resources here. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Don't forget to download the handout. You'll find the link in the video description at the bottom of your screen. You may need to click Show More to see the handout links. Thanks for watching.